Broadcasting from the Merritt Hall Studios out of Carson City, Nevada. You're listening to Covering the Field with Big Richard Martin, Gator Gates, and Joe the Answer Ellison.
Welcome to Covering the Field. I'm Joe Ellison, and with me today are my fantastic colleagues, Big Richard Martin and Gator Gates. Today, we are broadcasting from the historic Why Not Saloon in Carson City. Thank you, Alice, for having us.
Hey, thank you, Alice.
Thank you, Alice. You're the best.
Guys, before we get to college basketball's March Madness, we have to talk about the finish to the World Baseball Classic, which truly was a classic. What happened?
Okay, well, about the championship game?
Well, what happened, last week.
Okay, I got you, Joe. Well, I would say the biggest upset last week was Puerto Rico beating Dominican Republic 5-2, and Puerto Rico was at a plus 285. But the best exciting game, besides the championship game, was Japan trailed against Mexico for that final game to see who was going to play the United States, and walk-off home run gave Japan a 6-5 lead.
Well, it was a walk-off double. Shante Otani got the leadoff double, got it started, and it just seemed like they couldn't handle it anymore. And Japan had to walk off, and it was exciting.
It was exciting.
And I think we can call they lived up to their name, the Classic.
Yes,
the World Series Classic.
And Mexico was at a plus 220, Joe.
Okay, that was a good line right there. And the U.S. hit a grand slam in the eighth inning of their semifinal game
against Venezuela
in order to get to the title game.
Trey Turner.
And obviously the title game was a real doozy too.
I know everybody thought before the game, wouldn't it be great if it came down to Otani and Trout? And did it? It sure did.
Yes, arguably the two best players in the world.
And they're all in the Angels. And so I think so maybe I think Otani should be getting the same type of money Mike Trout's getting. I mean, he did win the battle.
But we are talking about a team that hasn't been in the playoffs for a while.
We had some stats, but obviously Otani batted over 400. He pitched a save or two, a couple wins. I mean, he was amazing. And they did beat the U.S. 3-2. March sadness for the United States, unfortunately. But
was it just me, or did it look like Mike Trout didn't have a chance against Otani? I mean, he just threw two or three heaters and then threw that nasty slider, and it looked like see you tomorrow, buddy.
Yeah,
that's why he was MVP. Yeah, he deserved that.
Well, best in the world.
Well, Japan has now won 3 of the 5 classics. Their record is 30-8. They have no losses this year, 7-0. And they were 14-5 odds, which was the third highest. So there was a little value there.
Yeah, the books had it being USA and Dominican Republic, and Venezuela and Puerto Rico took care of that.
Yeah. So, Japan's the only team to reach the playoff round each classic. So they're consistently there. Trey Turner, 5 home runs, tied a record.
Right.
He was amazing.
Philadelphia thinks that's a great pickup for shortstop, after going to the World Classic and hitting 5 dingers.
Yeah. Yes, Dominican Republic unbelievably did not make it. That was crazy. Of course, the celebration Puerto Rico had after beating the Dominican Republic proved to be costly.
Oh, yeah.
Because New York Mets right-handed closer, Edwin Diaz, they were jumping up and down, and he got a right knee tendon tear. And he's done for the entire season.
Ridiculous. Well, I know there's another year where the Mets are into the regular season. Another year where they can't stay healthy.
Well, I mean, you lose your closer. That's just brutal for the Mets. As much money they spent in the offseason.
Yes, and the other most significant injury, Houston's Jose Altuve was hit by a pitch from United States' Daniel Bard. He's got a fractured thumb, and he'll be out 2 months.
Yeah, I think he said stop cheating when he hit him. I mean, from the previous scandal from the Houston.
It seemed like an accident.
It was an accident. I'm sure it was, but I mean, just wanted to put that plug in there. You big cheater, Jose.
So
you got coming.
You're right.
As far as Otani's stats, 435 average, 4 doubles, a home run, 10 walks, pitching 2 wins, 0 losses, 1 save. 1.86 ERA, 11 strikeouts, 9 2/3 innings pitched. Pretty amazing.
10 walks.
Yeah, well, they didn't want to pitch to him.
No, but they don't play that many games. That's just amazing.
Yeah, It was
I
amazing.
wonder what his on base percentage was.
Way up there.
Way up there in the 700, 600. Exactly.
For sure. So an amazing classic, and they're for sure going to have it 3 years from now. It's already been commissioner of baseball has already said we're going to be there.
That's good. And I think it was great. That's perfect during gives us a pre up to the season and getting some real live baseball. It's great.
So now, fellas, the NC2A basketball tournament has dwindled from 68 teams down to 16 in just 1 week. What were the big stories from the first 2 rounds?
Joe, I can just say the mighty have fallen. Purdue, we talked about them having a 7'4" giant going against the Oompa Loompas from Fairleigh Dickinson. If you looked on the card, it said Fair Dick. But that was not a joke. It actually was. It was not a joke, but it did say doesn't fit because they took down the mighty Purdue. It's only happened one other time. So that was a big
Baltimore County 5 years ago beat Virginia.
Exactly. So if you had Purdue, pull over, put your hands where I can see them, step out of the vehicle because you're busted. Your bracket is busted. If you have Kansas, stick your hands out of the car. Let me see where I can see them because you're busted. Your bracket is busted again. Princeton did the amazing beating the Cinderella team of the year, taking out Arizona, the number 2 team. I think we did say on the show that was probably one we should have took that Arizona would win. But we talked about also everyone that won their conferences, beware of that first round. And there was over 5 that went out. Memphis went out. Purdue went out. Who else went out? Who won their conference?
Let's see. Marquette.
They went out the second round. VCU went out. And then Duke won the ACC and they went out. So if you got to be careful of these teams when they get in there and you win your conference, it's like we told you last year, that had been 5 out of the 8 conference winner of the Power 5 went out in the first 2 rounds.
Fairleigh Dickinson. Remember, Merrimack won that Northeast Conference.
Yes,
they weren't eligible to play because they're still transitioning to Division I, and people were telling Fairleigh Dickinson they didn't deserve to be in the tournament.
They didn't deserve to be in the tournament,
and they gave them a big chip on their shoulder.
They gave them something to play for. Well, their coach said, if we play Purdue 100 times, we're going to lose 99, but this is the night we're going to win. Right. So Purdue,
they finished 7-5 their last 12 games. So they kind of coasted in.
And the Big Ten has not played well in the tournament so far. Only one team left.
Unfortunately, Fairleigh Dickinson did lose in the second round to Florida Atlantic. That Cinderella story is over.
Right.
That spread was crazy, though. 15.5 points.
Right.
Just beating Purdue. That was insane. And at halftime, there was like a 1 point difference, and they were getting 8. I mean, I was all over that. Fairleigh Dickinson.
Right.
And made some money on that one.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Well, I thought after the Florida Atlantic game, the coach said, I'm going to go watch some Australian rugby football because that's how Tennessee plays. And Florida Atlantic, they averaged 26 3-pointers a game. They shoot up a game per game. Tennessee, they had 15 turnovers against Duke in their win.
Yeah.
So they took out, if you had Duke on your bracket to win it all.
Yep.
Put your hands where I can see them. Step out of the car because you're busted. Your bracket is busted. So, but to get ready for them, they definitely played great defense. Like I said, they turned the ball over 15 times. Duke did. Tennessee's the 3rd defense in the nation. So one thing I want to go into that a little bit, Joe, about 2 losses Tennessee had as you're picking the 4 team going against Florida Atlantic. They lost 2 games to Missouri. One, Missouri shot 26 3-pointers, just like Florida Atlantic. They shot 14 of them, and they shot 53% from the 3-point line. And and Missouri won 86-85. And then on March 10th, they shot 26 3-pointers again. They made 10 of them. That is a little bit lower percentages in the 30s, 38.5. But they beat them 79-71. So I'm kind of seeing a pattern there that Florida Atlantic likes to shoot the 3-pointer. And I think they're going to shoot the 3-pointer. The thing is, Tennessee's defense, can they stop them, keep them under the 33%? And then I think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
All right. So getting back to Princeton, yes, they defeated Arizona and Missouri. They actually reached the Sweet 16, amazingly. That's 3 straight years now. A 15 seed is in the regional semifinals.
That's right. Last year was St. Petersburg, right?
St. Peter's,
and then the year before was
Oral Roberts.
Huh?
So there you go. So check out those 15s. Fill out 4 brackets and use all the 15s, one each. Let's see if you can.
Right.
I guess. But also number 13 Furman beat Virginia. They were the team that, yes, did lose to Maryland, Baltimore County.
Right.
And number 11 Pittsburgh beat number 6 Iowa State. So there were some double digits seeds there.
Right. And have you seen that Arizona also was the only other number 2 team? They lost a few years back. They were a number 2 seed. So when you're filling out your brackets, be careful when you put Virginia.
Yes.
Or if you put Arizona going deep in your brackets, because they're going to bust it for you.
The ACC teams, Virginia and Duke.
Right.
Terrible. And the team that beat Kansas, Arkansas. Kansas was limited, I guess, in the sense that Bill Self was not coaching the team. And I think, I think that hurt them in game adjustments.
Kansas was winning that whole game. It was Kansas winning the whole game. Arkansas only had under 2 minutes when they were leading during the game, and unfortunately, it was at the end of the game. So that's how Kansas went out.
Eric Musselman showed his muscles,
right,
taking off his shirt, as he did at Nevada many times, and fans love it.
You know, one thing I like about Arkansas, talking about Arkansas, they only average 12.5 3-pointers a game, so they can prove and they get over 10 offensive rebounds a game. So that gives up points that they don't have to rely on the 3 to beat you. They rely on their athletic ability, their defense, and their hustle. And so Arkansas is one of those teams you have to watch in the tournament.
And the team that took down Marquette, number 7 Michigan State, that's Tom Izzo, where coaching obviously factors in there. He's been to numerous Sweet 16s. So, and as it turns out, a record tying 11 conferences are represented in the Sweet 16.
Right. That's great. And the Big East is leading with 3 of those.
All right. So spread wise, let's move on. Friday, of the 16 games, well, this is in the past actually, 13 games went under and 2 went over, and 1 was a push last Friday. So the under was definitely the way to go. That was the money making.
Swinging heavy on the unders.
Mm-hmm. So now let's look ahead to the Sweet 16, which is being played tomorrow and Friday. Big Rich, what are your point spread predictions? I think we kind of heard one about Tennessee already. Sort of.
Right, exactly. So we like to look at those. I think they're giving up. I don't know, what's the Tennessee spread? Is it
it can't be very much. 5.5.
5.5. And I think that's a good number. I think the better pick would be the under on that. So I think Tennessee plays really good defense. And as the tournament goes on, it seems like that rim gets a little bit smaller and smaller. The pressure's on now. I mean, it's one thing winning, on the top when you're 64 teams out, but now there's only 16 and you have the only game on TV. Everybody's eyes are on you. So let's start with Alabama and San Diego State. Alabama is offensive team and they're fast. San Diego's a defense team and it's slow. They're slow and they like to play low numbers. So I think Alabama has the athletic ability to handle San Diego State. We'll give you San Diego State. You got 2 wins for the Mountain West, which is 2 more than you got last year for the Mountain West. So I think your run is over. Alabama's going to take that. Now I'm going to drop the points. Alabama, there we go. Okay, let's move to Creighton and Princeton. Okay, Creighton, you got to look, they're a very balanced team. They have 5 starters that average 10 points or more. So it's not like one player you have to shut down. All 5 players play. They shot 45% against Baylor from the 3-point line. Like they could shoot it. They also average up to like pretty close to 80 points per game. Creighton fills it up. Princeton, 10 offensive rebounds in both their games. That shows that they hustle. They're getting extra shots on the rim. But I say take the slipper off. We're going to go with the Creighton
Blue Jays.
Yes. And like we said before, you got to watch the 3-point shooting and from Creighton, because if they do go cold, that opens the door for the Cinderella team to get in there with their hustle.
Okay.
We talked a little bit about Florida Atlantic already. I like Tennessee in that for sure. Then again, Florida Atlantic can get hot from the 3 then.
Tennessee and under. Okay.
All right. Let's go to K-State. They picked up they lost in their Big 12 game. Their first game, they came out and they shot 13 straight 3-pointers that went off the iron. 13 straight. They've started their game off. They came back. They hustled. They got the job done. Marquise Noel, he's 5'8", but a dynamite passer. He's averages 7.8 assists a game. He also scores 17 points per game, and he gets 3.5 rebounds. Shows that he hustles. K-State, I like them to take down Michigan State, even though you just talked about Tom Izzo. He has 16 wins against in the NCAA tournament that are, he is the lower seed. He's the higher seed than the gets lower seeds. So that just shows you that coaching does make a difference. Tom Izzo's all about decent defense. One thing we got to look at Tyson Walker. He is from Queens. He's one of the star players for Michigan State. He's from Queens, and he played real close to in Madison Square Garden. That's where the East is. And when he played for Rutgers, they did lose that game at Madison Square Garden. So one thing to look at, I'm liking K-State. Maybe to make a deep run.
Okay.
Arkansas knocked out Kansas. Like you said, they were only winning 2 minutes out of the game. Arkansas had 10 offensive rebounds. Both teams only attempted, like I said, they only in both games, both their wins, they only attempted 12 3-pointers a game. So they can do it. They hustle. They got UConn. UConn came out of the Big East, so they got to play in New York, but now they're going to go to the West. They'll be playing all the way in Las Vegas. So I think, they had a strong game against St. Mary's. But I think UConn, you're done. I'm going to take Arkansas. I like their hustle. And we like their coach. He's also a Nevada guy out here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's go to the West. UCLA, they were crushing the West tournament. They had a pretty easy game against University of North Carolina, Asheville. Yeah, they had a pretty easy time with them, winning by over 30. And then you had a little bit of run at Northwestern. But you look at how good Tiger played, Tiger Campbell. Yeah. He was 0 for 7 from shooting, but he still had 12 for 12 from the free throw line. It shows you that you can get cold and still win the game. You're going to have a game where you're just not going to shoot well in the tournament. You're going to have to get lucky. Somebody's going to have to pick you up. We're going to go with Triple J, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Triple J. I mean, he's playing great. He's going to go against Drew Timme. I think that's going to be a great game. I mean, we've had classic games with UCLA and Gonzaga.
Right.
We go 17 years ago, and that's when UCLA stunned your boy Adam Morrison. Remember when they hit the closing shot and he was crying in the middle of the court? Yep. If you guys remember that. Yep. And 2 years later, Jalen Suggs does it to them. He shoots a overtime half quarter to beat UCLA. So they've had a lot of history. Those
the last second half quarter.
Yes, exactly. Crushing for and that was the number 1 seed Gonzaga. Yep. So I think that's going to go good, but I like UCLA. I think they're just better. They have more talent. Timmy's going to have to play. He's not going to have to look like Christian Laettner. He's going to have to play like Christian Laettner to beat him. I think he's going to have the game of his career. He could do it. Gonzaga could do it. I kind of like Gonzaga because they, they're not as the number 1 seed and all the pressure's off them a little bit. They can kind of play, but you look at their schedule, UCLA plays a much tougher schedule. So
I do think it's the game to watch. That's
going to be the exciting one to watch for sure. Exactly. Because there's a lot riding on it. Okay, so and then I'm going to go ahead.
That was 7 picks so far.
7 picks. Okay, no, we're going to do them all. Okay. Houston got, Marquez Sasser back in round, the round 32, played a little bit in the first game. Round 30, he came back and he had 22 points. And Tremaine Mark had 26 points. So Houston looked like they're back on action. We got to watch that. Miami team, we told you that they made the Sweet 16 last year. You could have got them at 66-1 odds. They are now 45-1 odds as their 7.5 point favorites. Houston 7.5 point favorite over Miami. And one thing we have to look at, Miami has the athletic ability to stay with Houston to play a similar game. They average 79 points per game. So I'm liking my 7.5. That's what gives me 8. If they have their average game, that gives me 87.5. Only one time this year, that was to Maryland, that Miami has lost by more than 7.5. They lost by, I think, 9 in that game. Every other game, I like the points in that one. Houston will probably get by, but I like Miami to make it close. And of course, I have them at 66-1 odds. So I really would hope them to get by. That might be a heartfelt one there. But Houston looked good with Sasser coming back. There's no way they look good. They're a great team. Like you said, they get past this. And I think they are playing in the Houston's going to be in the in Kansas City in the Midwest or the
Midwest.
Yes,
Midwest, yeah, they'll play in Kansas City, and I think it's going to be a Texas shootout because I think Texas is going to come up the other way. Texas gives up, the one thing I don't like about Texas, they give up 10 rebounds, offensive rebounds a game. So it shows you that they're not disciplined on boxing out. It shows you that the opponents can get after you if you get the offensive rebounds. It also shows you probably that they're shooting a lot of threes because you get a bigger chance for an offensive rebound on a 3-pointer. But they've been out rebounded this year by over 80 rebounds throughout the season to their opponents. So
another great game to watch.
Yeah. Xavier, they're 8-2 in their last 10. And they shoot 39% from the 3-point line, so they can get at you, and they average 81 points per game.
But I'm with you. I do think it's going to be Houston and Texas, and that's going to be a great game.
That's going to be the Texas shootout.
That's going to be fun to watch too.
It'll be the Saturday Sunday game, right?
Correct.
Well, Xavier leads the country in assists. So
assist, and they shoot 39% from the 3-point line. So they share the ball. There's somebody to watch, and we have to say the Big East has 3 teams in the Sweet 16 leading all conferences.
Yeah.
And Marquette isn't one of them.
That's a surprise.
That's a surprise. So there's my picks. Go ahead, Joe. What do you got there?
Your last pick was
Texas.
Texas. You like Texas coming through. I'm keeping track of your picks. It's going to be interesting to see. You went through every game. That's amazing. Gator, did you have any picks or?
No, I pretty much agree with everything. And the only thing is I put Gonzaga at the beginning, so I'm going to have to take Gonzaga to beat UCLA.
And you do like the Dogs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I do love.
You hit half of them.
Yeah, you do love the Dogs.
Okay. So
in this tournament, I mean, as you can see,
well, half the dogs hit, like you said on your picks, and it's the hardest part doing is practice trying to find the right dog.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah, you got that
exactly.
Right. We didn't do the best at that in the first round, so that's you're pretty much in agreement, except for Gonzaga.
Well, and the other one I had down, but I might be probably wrong now that I was listening to Big Richard. I like Michigan State for the coaching, like you said, but Kansas State does scare me. Okay. And especially with Big Richard Williams was talking. And
just to let you know, my wife, who does not follow a lot of basketball, she did take Princeton to go to the Sweet 16. Great job, babe. And she picks a couple, and she has K-State to go to the finals. So
exactly.
So, like you said, sometimes you like the uniform, sometimes you like the name, and they do better than all of us with all of our stats.
Exactly right.
Nobody else has that, so
that's how you win. That's how you win. Yep.
Okay. So that's it, Gator.
We're good.
Well, Thursday, you were talking about the Tennessee game, and I'm in total agreement. Looking at Tennessee, they played good defense, but yes, they struggle on offense. They beat Louisiana 58-55 in the first round, beat Duke 65-52 in the second. I'm taking Tennessee and Florida Atlantic to go under 130.5 points. Next, I'm liking the way Michigan State is playing defense. Holding USC to 62 points in fairly high-scoring Marquette squad to 60. Over the course of the season, Kansas State was similar to Tennessee, although the Wildcats, they've scored well so far in the tournament. Still, I'm going with Michigan State and Kansas State to total under 137.5.
That's probably the better pick instead of taking a side.
It's going to be
a better pick. Yes.
Gonzaga has been the opposite of Tennessee and Kansas State. The Bulldogs can score, but can have troubles on defense. They gave up 70 to Grand Canyon, 81 to TCU. Also, UCLA has got a couple injuries. We didn't talk about that. Yeah. 2 of their best defensive players.
Right. One is out for the year, and the other one did play. One did play the other game. He wasn't very effective, but he did play.
Right. So I'm liking Gonzaga and UCLA to go over 145.5. That should be a very exciting game. And finally, on Friday, Big Rich, how I like the underdog, the Cinderella Story, and Princeton is getting 10 points against Creighton. I would have taken any team getting double digits this far into the tournament. I'll try Princeton plus 10.
Like I said, Joe, they don't have to rely on the 3 either. They hustle, they get rebounds, they show play good defense, they play good team defense. So I think I like that 10 also.
Okay. As far as the point spread statistics, I just throw them out at you. They're concerned in the Sweet 16. In 4 of the last 5 tournaments, underdogs have covered the spread more often than not. In fact, last year, 4 underdogs won their games outright in this round. Seeding wise, in 6 out of the last 8 tournaments, at least 2 teams, 6 or worse, won in this round. So
okay.
So
it's a dog. It's a dog. You're saying it's a dog weekend.
4 of the last 5 years, it has been.
Okay. Great stat.
And looking towards the Final Four, in 8 out of the last 9 tournaments, a team seeded 7 or worse has made it. And 10 teams higher than 5 since 2010 have made it to the Final Four. So there's going to be one in there.
Well, it has to be on a couple of these.
Right.
Exactly.
But everyone has at least one seed that's lower than 7 or 5. So, national championship, as we said, if you're looking ahead, if you're filling out Sweet 16 brackets which some people are, since they threw away their original brackets, they probably started over and done those. Like we said, 5 straight number 1 seeds have won the championship, and 10 out of 13.
Well, half of those are gone in ours. So 2 of the number 1s have gone.
Yeah. So thank you, Butch, the Rain Man Roberts, for all of those, or most of those statistics.
And we have to give it up to Alice. She is following her Wisconsin Badgers faithfully, and she says you can get them at close to 3-1 odds to win the NIT. They just knocked off the number 1 team. So if you want a little action on the NIT, if you want to do our off night betting, take the Badgers.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of brackets, Gator, do you have some bracket statistics to share?
Yeah, well,
everyone loves betting on March Madness and filling out brackets, right?
well, geez, the books predict that they're going to make $15.5 billion by the end of this tournament. And that is 1 out of 4 adults, or 68 million people that actually have action.
Wow.
Now, here's the stat, Joe. When the field came out on March Madness, the whole field, the mothership had 2,600 brackets per minute within the first 14 hours, which came out to be 56.3 million brackets.
And they're all busted.
Hours.
And they're all busted.
None of them are perfect.
I'm sure
And the first day, I think, as soon as, definitely as soon as Purdue went out. And
I could see maybe somebody having all 4 possibly in there if they had like Michigan State,
yeah, Arizona.
Kansas State, or Tennessee.
Yeah.
That's the bracket where the damage was done, the big damage.
Well, I'm sure our producer is in that statistics or something.
Yeah.
And you just know them out.
So how are your brackets doing there, Gator?
Well, if we go off of the 16 teams that are left, I had 8 of them.
It's nice.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Joe? A little better.
Well, how would you know? I have 9 in the Sweet 16. I have 5 who could make the Elite 8. I have 3 who can make the Final 4, and we got Alabama beating Houston in the finals. So I have potential.
And I have Alabama beating Texas.
Okay. So you got potential too.
Yes.
Okay. Your other 2 brackets
Busted.
complete. Okay. So you're going to absolutely have to have
It looks like our border wall. Holes all over it.
All right. Well, we'll talk about those next week. We should also mention the women who are also going through their March Madness. Undefeated South Carolina continues doing their business, but number 1 seed Stanford and Indiana both lost.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the women's tournament goes true to form, but not this year. It's rare when a 1 seed loses in the first 2 rounds. And
Stanford, I thought Stanford was big.
Yeah.
And if you did bet the Lucky Irish on Friday, all green teams won.
Oh, really?
Yes. All
That's
3 teams.
amazing.
I should have factored that in. No, I missed out on that. There had to be another one in there in the college hips, but I missed that one too. I'm sure. So, Big Rich, what's going on in the NBA lately?
Well, the NBA seems like the East is definitely set up for the Bucks. I mean, you're gonna have to go through Milwaukee. They're 7-3. We got to watch. We talked about Philadelphia maybe getting that East Conference championship from where the Celtics are only 1 game behind, and they're on an 8-2 run. Bucks are on a 7-3-1. Heat seem like they got the South in hand. They're 6-4, and they're 2.5 games above Atlanta. The team that is folding quicker than anybody, the Wizards, are withering out. They're 2-8, so it looks like they're not going to be able to do much in the playoffs if they do make it. The West, let's just talk about the OKC Thunder. No one had them. They've had 2 road wins last week against the Clippers and the Suns. They're 8-2, and they're a half game back by, I said Olden State, not Golden State, Olden State, for that 6th seed, so you don't have to play the playing game. So they're playing really good. The Grizzlies, Lakers, and Kings are both 6-4, and we look to get Kevin Durant and LeBron James back at the end of this month for the last 4 or 5 games.
Well, we had a significant injury last night, I believe, for the Clippers. There's
I didn't catch it.
Paul George got hurt and hurt his knee, and so that got hurt. Memphis got John Morant back. He's going to be shooting things other than guns now.
He's shooting threes instead of guns, and we love it.
He's back after some counseling, which he said, I'm not going to change anything anyway, which didn't make any sense to me when the interview afterwards. So I'm not going to change who I am. Then why are you going through counseling?
Because that's what he's supposed to do.
His order.
But well, I wonder about him. And moving on, Gator. Who's hot and cold in the National Hockey League?
Okay, Joe. Well, the hottest team I would say is the LA Kings. They're at 8-2. Then we have two teams at 7-1. First is the Rangers. They're 7-1, and they've gone 5-0 in their last 5. And Colorado's 7-1, and they've gone 6-0 in their last 6. Vegas is 6-1, and Edmonton is 5-1.
And the Avalanche are only 1 point off to be the number 1 seed in the West. They have 88 points behind 89.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then in the cold, I would say the coldest team is San Jose, Joe.
No way. San Jose?
8 straight weeks they have been the cold team.
Well, they were 0-7 or 1-12, however you want to look at it.
It just all adds up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not adding much, subtracting maybe.
Okay, well, Montreal keeps trying. They did win last night, but they were 2-9. And New Jersey's 0-4, Pittsburgh's 0-4, and Washington is 0-3 or 1-4.
Okay. So your picks went 7-3 last week.
Correct, 70%.
Putting you at 146 and 74 for the season. That's a very solid 66.4%.
Okay.
Who do you like this week?
Okay. Friday, I have Colorado over Arizona. And Saturday, I have 2 games. I have Calgary over San Jose and Minnesota over Chicago.
Okay.
Sunday, I have 2 games. I have Colorado over Arizona again. It's not back-to-back per se. There's a day missing in there.
Right.
Sunday, again, I have Toronto over Nashville. And that's both those
so
games.
Anyway, enjoy the game and
that's
some
Nashville.
That's some
Monday,
squares.
I have 3 games. I have Florida over Ottawa, and Ottawa is playing a lot better. I have Colorado at Anaheim, take Colorado, and Edmonton at Arizona. So I'm going against Arizona 3 times.
And going with Colorado.
I'm going with Colorado
3 times.
3 times, correct.
Beautiful.
So then Tuesday, I have 2 games. I have Boston over Nashville, and I have the Rangers over Columbus. Another team struggling with Columbus.
Okay. All right, Gator. So we should also congratulate Alex Ovechkin. It's his 13th season that he scored 40 goals now.
That's amazing.
That's more than Wayne Gretzky did.
Exactly.
So that's really saying something considering all the goals Gretzky had, the great one. So any news from the NFL we should be talking about?
Well, we're still trying to figure out what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. Not a lot of talk there. I mean, I know that probably Green Bay is asking a king's ransom for his services out there, but I also heard Matthew Stafford might be on the blocks. We'll go after the Jets also if it falls through with Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, well, I would say maybe a first round pick for Rodgers.
I think
take more than that.
Taking more than that.
I think I just might pass on this Rodgers.
I think that
you got to pay him $50 million too.
And I think the Jets are all in. So I think that they're going to have to.
They're going to do it.
They want a veteran quarterback, and there's no one else out there. So I mean,
well, that's
they would have to take a step down. Matthew Stafford did win a Super Bowl, but he did have arm issues with his injured arm.
So there isn't a lot of quarterbacks. There isn't a lot at all.
Somebody's got to sneak in there and steal Rodgers away from the Jets somehow. That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Okay.
All right. Any thoughts on the XFL? I don't know, man.
Your Sea Dragons got another win. They're 3-2 now. The one you've been going against them, and they snuck a win against the undefeated Roughnecks.
Yeah, I guess they're actually decent now. Yeah, because they gave Houston their first loss. And so now DC is the best team, and Houston, I suppose, is the second best team.
Yes. So a lot of 3-2 teams.
Okay. So we'll probably have some picks next week on that, unless you got some picks there, Gator.
Okay. Well, Seattle's going to be playing Orlando in Orlando, but I'm still going to take Seattle -8.5. St. Louis is playing Vegas. Vegas still doesn't know how to win. St. Louis is -3. That's pretty tight. I'm I'm going to take Vegas with the +3 at home. Sunday, we have San Antonio against Arlington. Arlington's -3. I like them at home. And Houston goes to DC. And just like Joe said, that's a 2.5 now. I'm going to take DC and the points.
Yeah, DC looks good. So, what transpired in NASCAR at the Atlanta Motor Speedway last Sunday?
Well, we didn't have a wreck at the end of the race, Joe, so there was no overtime. But Joey Logano at 11-1 passed Brad Kalowski on the last lap to put Ford first, and that was their first win of the year.
That's the first time the Chevy didn't win.
Yeah, exactly. And so Ford went first and second, and Christopher Bell and the Toyota got third, and Corey LaJoie was the first Chevy in fourth.
Fourth place for Corey LaJoie.
Yeah, not bad at all.
That's good. Yeah, we had him to. If he'd have got first through third on Phoenix, we would have hit over $600.
Top Chevy too. Top Chevy. But Joe, I guess a story that I heard was that Elliott plans on coming back in July. I guess that would be the biggest news.
Yes,
is that when skiing season's over?
It's been snowing a lot.
It's been snowing a lot.
He could be going there. No, actually, he's got a broken leg, so I guess he's not able to ski, unfortunately for him. But of course, the other story: all 4 Hendrick cars were penalized for a lever on their hood.
Right.
So I don't know exactly how the point system works on that, but we're going to find out.
A lot of people were taken out on that wreck too. There, Gator. When Harvick and
guys,
I think Ross got into it. Then they bump trapped it, and a lot of cars got on. William Byron.
Yeah, a lot of top guys too that were running really good.
Right.
So you're right.
So next Sunday is the Circuit of America's road course in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you picking?
Well, last year we had a great action down there. Chevys went 1-2 with Ross Chastain and Alex Bowman. The Toyota, Christopher Bell, received third. I like the Toyotas again, Joe, and I do like Christopher Bell, but I don't think Martin Truex is a bad choice.
I don't think so either. He's very good on the road course.
He's my driver that I always root for, so it's hard for me to put money on a guy we like.
Well, you just bet on the Toyotas.
So Toyotas, of course.
I like that too.
Okay.
Well, the Ford's is pretty good too.
Chevys are the favorite. Toyotas are second on the manufacturer wagering this week. So, Six Nations Rugby wrapped up last Sunday. How did that turn out?
Okay, Joe. Well, Scotland beat Italy 26-14. France took care of Wales 41-28. And Ireland 29-16. So I guess what all this means, Joe, is Ireland they got the Grand Slam.
Yes, they did.
And Italy almost lost the Golden Spoon to Wales, but they retained the Golden Spoon again. Wooden spoon. I'm sorry. Wooden spoon. Correct.
Yeah.
Saying it wrong.
All those spreads were 15 points.
They were huge.
Yeah. So all the dogs covered. So if you've taken the dogs, you hit a 3-teamer. Congratulations to Ireland. They did what France did last year, won every single game. And Italy continues to struggle, although they did win a game last year.
They sure did. Now, the World Cup, Joe, starts September 8th, and the first game is going to be France and New Zealand. So,
that's going to be an incredible game right off
the bat, Joe. So that's great.
Yeah, that Ireland-England match, that was shown on NBC. So NBC is promoting rugby now, and it will be more popular pretty soon. It's going to get there.
Well, we're getting the next World Cup.
Well, then it'll be really popular.
Correct.
Okay. Some major league baseball notes. Boston's Justin Turner was hit in the face with a pitch, received 20 stitches in an exhibition game. He returned 2 weeks later and got a hit his first game back. So good for him. San Diego's Juan Soto is day-to-day. He has an oblique strain. Congratulations to Olivia Pichardo. Last Friday, she became the first woman to play in a Division I baseball game. She's from Queens, New York. Goes to Brown University. Last year played for the women's national team. And thank you, Rockin' Ronnie McKinnon, for that information.
Yeah, way to go, Ronnie.
Yeah. So last week we neglected to honor American Michaela Schifrin, who is now the greatest skier in the history.
Alpine skier. 87 World Cup wins. And we didn't honor Dick Fosbury, who revolutionized high jumping with the Fosbury flop.
He died last week at the age of 76.
Oh,
Everybody used to jump straight at the bar. Now they're jumping
sideways,
backwards at the bar. And he was the innovator. And said that he is gone. So now it's time for that moments we've been waiting for. Stories that made us furious, bets that appeared surely to be winners, but in the end, something went horribly wrong and they ended up being losers. It's a segment we affectionately call You Got Hosed.
You got hosed.
You got hosed.
All right. Well, my host story is Saturday, Carolina was playing Philadelphia, and with less than a second left, Carolina was losing 3-4. But with 0.3 seconds left, Martin Makaz scored with 0.3 seconds left. So that sent the game into overtime. And with 28 seconds into overtime, Sebastian Aho scored. So they won 5-4. So I would have to say, Joe, if you had Philly at a plus 185, you got hosed.
Wow. 0.3 seconds left. You had it in the palm of your hand.
Exactly.
Yeah, the biscuit in the basket.
That's exactly right.
Well, I'm going to talk about my You Got Hosed story. What's happened when I was on St. Paddy's Day enjoying a great basketball game with my beautiful wife at a great Irish pub bar, watching the Knights of Fairleigh Dickinson. Yes, and Purdue. And we were watching intensely, watching this big upset go down. And two ladies came and turned the channel to the women's basketball. And we watched Stanford win by 40 points instead of watching one of the biggest upsets in tournament history. So thanks a lot. Ridiculous. So on a personal note, I got hosed, and also we did an Irish car bomb, which my wife beat me again, and that. So I got double hosed.
Oh man!
Wow.
Well, certainly the foul against Charleston with 0.7 seconds left that gave them 2 free throws, and instead of losing by 4, they ended up losing by 6. That was pretty horrible.
That was pretty horrible.
And that was costly to me, obviously. Yes. But my real You Got Hosed story comes from the Texas A&M Corpus Christi, Alabama game. Alabama was up 24 with the spread 24, and Christi had no reason to shoot with like seconds left. But at the buzzer, he waits till the very last second to throw it up there. They shoot a 3 and they hit it to cover the spread. That shot also made the second half total go over by 1 point. So if you had Alabama plus 24 or the under in the second half, or both, you got hosed at the buzzer.
Or double hosed.
A double hoser. Thanks a lot. You just wanted to get on ESPN, and he did. And you didn't get your ticket.
No, you didn't.
You got hosed.
So that's it for the show. I'd like to thank Big Richard Martin and Gator Gates, all our contributors, our editor, producer, and engineer Cornelius, and all you listeners out there. And of course, the historic Why Not Saloon. And, we thank you very much for having us. And next week, and especially Alice.
Thank you, Alice.
Yeah,
thank you, Alice, for having us over here. And
thank you so much.
Come down here to see. So unfortunately, the Why Not will be closing. So come down, and there's a lot of great items for sale here. If you like some bar paraphernalia, great stuff. If you can help out Alice with her retirement, come in here, make a purchase. There's a nice pool table, some great TVs, bar stools, anything you need for your man cave. Come on down here to the Why Not and donate to a great cause.
Okay. Well, thank you. And next week, we look forward to bringing you another episode of Covering the Field.
You've been listening to Covering the Field. Email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com for all your comments or questions. Find us on Twitter @CoveringField. And of course, always check out the website for our picks of the week and updated articles. coveringthefield.com.